What's good, y'all? I hope this is recording, but I'm just gonna be sharing how I vibe coded my application, Frontel, in like about a monthish. And I'm a person who has a little bit of experience, but not a great amount. Like I took like a few CS classes, and honestly, for this one, I entirely you was I don't think I wrote a single line of code for this project. But this is the app. It's called Frontel. It's a skincare app, and it helps people add routines, and you can see me playing with it. And it's more so targeted at people who are older because I feel like they're underserved market, despite having some of the most pressing skincare needs. But most skincare apps focus on people who are young and already have like pretty good skin. But like my app is like designed for like people who are older and may see like signs of aging on their face already. But anyway, I'm gonna start off with like step one, and step one was really just ideation. So first step was me creating a Google Doc, and I just put Fantel AI aging app, and I the way I got this idea was I just was scrolling on Twitter and I saw somebody who was like, an app for anti aging skincare wouldn't be so bad. And I was like, that's actually a pretty good idea. I don't think that like is a super big market, and I just was, and mind you, I didn't have any coding experience, but like I'm fairly active on tech Twitter, so like like I had seen that like the AI coding tools such as codex and Claude Code have gotten really good, so I decided to take a stab at it. Worst case scenario, I quit, and nothing in value is really lost because I'm at the same exact place that I started. But I start off with a problem statement where like it kind of justified the need for the app, like kind of similar to a business plan, normal business plan. For me, it was just like aging is a really big issue. People spend a lot of money on it, but the information can oftentimes be really difficult to understand, and an application can help people like like navigate the difficulties of aging, starting off with skincare. And it's kind of like is like how does this address this problem? And it was just like like it does, you can upload a picture, AI gives you recommendations, and then you can use it from with those recommendations. It then like gives you some gives you a routine. And here were the features that I had to have in my app, and a nice to have. I didn't actually, and a nice to have. I didn't end up putting the AI skincare coach just because like I am really just afraid of like token usage. I just didn't want to be paying hundreds of dollars for a feature that I don't think really makes it much better. And realistically, like I think I'm starting off with skincare, but the hope is that like I'm doing. There's a lot of different components of aging, and I want to expand very to a very broad category. And I just did a tech stack and React. I said React Native plus Expo, and I also my tech stack was also I guess openAI because I supabase and Figma. I use Figma as well. And I guess that gets into my second part, which is just system design. One thing I didn't really understand when I was vibe coding was like, that like you really need to have like a meticulous or at least really strong plan. And I guess as a beginner, you won't really have the vocabulary to understand where you need to go, and concepts to understand, knowledge of concepts to understand where you need to go. But like, really, this can be the difference maker between like a successful vibe coding project and a project that you quit because it's too frustrating. And the AI tools such as Cursor, Codex, Claude really do um get exponentially better if you have even the slightest bit of idea where you're going. And again, like I just kind of dug head first into it. I didn't really know where I was going, and so I made a lot of mistakes. For example, um, one way I really messed up was that I used Expo, and you might be like, Expo isn't bad, but like Expo using Expo was kind of stupid for me because like I only ended up building the application for iOS, and a lot of the issues now retrospectively were caused by me using Expo, and I could have easily avoided by just using Swift because I was only developing on iOS. That's like one system design, like like component. And another thing is just me ended up using authentication. I didn't really need authentication for Supabase. The reason why I wanted to use authentication was because I thought it'd be a really big issue if users wanted to transfer their subscription between devices, or say they got a new device and they want to transfer a subscription. But ultimately that ended up being useless because the App Store has an option to restore subscriptions, and that kind of solves the issue. And it actually was ended up being a big issue, at least later on in my development, when I ended up when I was towards the end, and I was actually trying to connect everything together. So I just think creating a really strong plan as to how you're gonna get things done and how the app is gonna look like when you have an idea of what features you want to have in your application and how you want it to feel is really important. And if you don't have the vocabulary and you don't have the experience to really create a coherent plan, you can use ChatGPT, Gemini, many of the numerous AI tools available to actually make to make a plan that you can follow. And you can change the plan as you go on if you decide, hey, this is not really worth it, as I did. And that kind of gets me to my second step. Once I decided how the app I wanted the what I wanted the app to actually be, I went into Figma and I designed the mockup. I tried using some applications like Gemini to give me a front end, or and likewise with codex, but I didn't really leave satisfied with any of the ones I got. So I just decided this really basic mockup with not a lot of features, but just something basic to at least give me a feel of where I wanted to go. And you can see this, and then you can see this. I think it actually came out better than it looked. Than it first, than it first, kind of than it looked initially in Figma, which is something I'm really proud of because I have no experience, um, no experience in front end. This is I've never developed a website or application. This is just me going off my own taste, and I really wanted to avoid the traditional AI design. You can sometimes you can come across a website, you can tell it's just AI generated just based off the font and just based off the layout. And I wanted to avoid that. Nowadays, I don't think I would have done what I did, which is just going straight into it. Instead, I would have started off with a few really strong references off of applications that I already use, or apps that really inspire me in the same category, perhaps, or just after a few days of research, and I would have thrown those into Gemini and ChatGPT, and even perhaps Midjourney, and ask them to make me a few mockups, and then I would have combined all the ideas into a final Figma document, or maybe went into work, or and just being okay, Gemini, create something like this before XYZ, where my app idea is. But overall, I think this was a part I was really happy with. And this single mockup really did inspire the design language for most of my application. Once I was done with this, it was now time to code the actual application. And here's where I faced a lot of issues. This is why, like I said, it really gives you a sense. I just think for me, it was kind of it kind of gave me a sense to what was really possible, what wasn't really possible. You can see I had my first task codex chat with codex about 30-40 days ago, and I had been previously using Cursor, but I was I already have a ChatGPT Plus plan, and I was I didn't want to end up playing for Cursor, and I just found even though Cursor Composer is really good, I just really wanted, I knew it would take a lot of code, and I didn't want to end up paying for Cursor, and when I already paid for ChatGPT Plus. And Codex is a really strong tool. There's a lot of really strong AI tools that you can use to get started. I've been hearing rave reviews about Claude Code and OPEX 4.5, but I really found Codex really great and beginner friendly because of its GUI. I'm planning to maybe use Cloud Code in the future because again, like it's getting really reviews, but Codex was really great. My um so my advice to you guys when you guys are doing is just to like go dive ahead in. I'm gonna show you like my first like my first like chat with Codex. If this can load, make sure I have some battery. And you can see me like trying to like redesign it like Swift, where I realized like damn, like I actually messed up by like using expo because I a lot of the issues I had initially were expo related. Like it was just like breaking in expo, and it was just I eventually got a hang of it, but I was just like like why did I even do this in expo, like when I'm not even planning to put this on Android. You might be wondering why did I decide to put it on Android, and the reason why is because like simply put, a lot of Android users don't really pay. But like I was like rebuild the app homepage UI to look exactly like this, download whatever fonts you need, and etc. And I can't click on it, but this is the mockup I was in Figma that I created. And you can see like like hey, like it did a lot of work. It did a lot of work. And I will say, like I said, ultimately you should be, when you're vibe coding, you should be using like a lot of this stuff. You should be using like models in tandem. You should be like referencing like ChatGPT. Be asking like, how do you do this? Why did you do this? So you can understand, because it really, I mean, we're at a point now where yes, you can use the app like models to like kind of like just as on autopilot, but like it really does like you're if it really the what you can do with these models scales exponentially if you understand, even like have a semblance of knowledge about what they're doing. And I don't expect, you shouldn't expect to have that knowledge for your first project, but it by the second project or the third project, now you should at least be able to know like, oh, I don't want to do this because XYZ is wrong. I don't like, now I know I don't want to use Expo because I prefer to use Swift. Now I know that like like, oh, like I need to download the fonts that I want. But basically that's, I would like, when I was like actually doing it, I'd be like, okay, rebuild the app homepage UI to look exactly like this, download whatever fonts you need, and etc. And then would tell me what I do, and then I would just go to like whatever line. And you can see like my code, um, and you can see like this. And again, like I would just understand it. Like I can tell you like, like this is just like setting the splash, and this also like kind of gets to the heart of my argument. Initially, for the scanning feature, I thought like, hey, like I was gonna go and use a core. I was gonna train like my own like machine, homegrown machine. Well, first let me start. Go back. I had thought like like the technology for aging was at least sufficiently advanced enough that it like would be like some one like really like big like machine learning model, which could like you could scan, and then you could like get this stats that you want like spit out, you like wrinkle score, like texture, like like elasticity. And they did exist, but they were all kind of disparate. Like there'd be one wrinkle model, there would be one like elasticity model, there'd be another like like XYZ model, and like a lot of these were closed source and like not available to the public. But like I had to end up like improvising. Like I realized like the trade off was like, okay, I can get a result that's like probably 80% is good, if not better, with like like VLLM, which is just like visual like language learning model, like for and it'd be pretty cheap. Like nowadays, like thankfully now, like thanks to competition, like the models are used are really cheap because OpenAI wants to use them, it wants you to use them a lot. And so like I end up like switching over, and this again gets to the heart of my like thing about like system design. You have to make decisions where like they're not like decisions that be you would originally expect, you would originally have picked, or like might not be ideal, but like are the best you can do in the circumstances you have and the like technical knowledge you have. And yes, I could have trained a machine learning model, but I realized like one, it would have taken a hell of a lot more effort, and two, like it would just be a pain in the ass, especially with my level of technical knowledge. And like I ended up just using like like a prompt where like pretend you're a or not pretend, but pretend think you're a like I think it was a dermatologist, how would you rate this user's like answer XYZ, and I try to use it based off of like a um actual like grading skills used for like like determining aging. Like if you went into a dermatologist's office, and like I just kind of like like did this, and then like it I was, and then like I kind of like here like again like I would like I want to like, so I wouldn't just be like here XYZ, do this for me, do this for me, do this for me, do this for me. And instead I would have this like I would have a chat with like like um chat with codex to like just kind of understand, and like I would be like, can you help me do this, and like I would have it like back end scaffold, and like like hey like I like hey handle me through these steps like because I wanted to understand, and then like should I run this server on a third party, and then like I would just like ask it why what it can do, and like I do get into some like personal code, and I don't want like to like do that, and like I would just keep on doing it. I would have conversations with just to understand where it's coming from, and if I felt comfortable with the decision, I would like like I would accept it. If I didn't feel comfortable, I would like ask codex to like suggest an alternative, and I did this enough, 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 and then like I basically did this for every single feature that I had. In fact, I will tell you, like, quite frankly, if your vibe coding is sufficiently like complex app, it will probably take you just as much time to do it, if not more time to do it, at least as a beginner, than it would have like just like hand like then like like a novice or like a intermediate coder like coding the same application, just because you have experience. The benefit is that like this would have likely taken me a year to like learn to get to this level and be able to do it in like a typical traditional like app function. And two, like ultimately, like I said, this is not something I would have just done like I would have done like otherwise. Like I would have not gone about this like project otherwise. Like this is like um 100, this is like a several thousand line code project, and I did this like in 40 days, like under 2 months, as a person with zero experience coding an application. But I just did this enough for enough like enough times, and like I kind of like cross reference. But like again, I just was like, okay, how can I implement this to the paywall, and like that like led me to my thing, and like like I would like kind of like see if I can go to my super wall, and then and like you actually see my super wall thing, and like again like some is unserious, like this is a little unserious. Like this is just something I like made in like a few like days, you know what I'm saying? And like again, like it's kind of bugged out. Like so some of this stuff is gonna be bugged out. Like y'all, you will not get this stuff on your first try. But like I can guarantee you, if you put like enough effort into this and you actually take it somewhat seriously, you don't just treat it like as if like like oh, ChatGPT make money for me or ChatGPT create like XYZ, but you take the time to understand it, you will be setting it yourself up for success in the future. But I again, like I said, I just had like like enough like times, like half of this like is just like me figuring out how could I install this on like my iPhone. Like a lot of this like was like just like hey like okay like, and you might be wondering like how did I even get like the taste to like what I should do and what I should do. Well, I consulted with two of my smartest, most intelligent business partners, Gemini and ChatGPT. So like let me show you. Gemini did a lot of work in particular. Like I just think like without Gemini, like you can see like here were some like mockups, and here was the final logo I would end up using. Um, so like here was the application like logo, and like when I like I prompted like I prompted Gemini for such a long time, and when I found this logo, I was like, yes, I finally struck gold. Like that's really how it's like when you're like using LM. Like you're gonna it's gonna give you some trash. It's gonna give you like a lot of good, and it's really up to you to like like first off develop the vocabulary so you can become more precise, and two like just like ultimately kind of get better at this. I had it like make me an onboarding flow, but even then like the onboarding flow stuff wasn't even from like wasn't even from like like my thing like this. So like I it started like like this uh this was like what I started with. Like so this was like the first few pages, and like again I use a reference from like another person like I follow, and then I went to ChatGPT. Let me see if I can do like I can search onboarding because like I didn't really like what was giving me. Like I was like, okay, like you can see like all this stuff. Like you can see like how like I kept on like I chatted with ChatGPT. I chatted with ChatGPT. I chatted with ChatGPT. So like I just like did like onboarding questions, and like like I just like went and like like did like like and I just had it like create like some onboarding questions for me. And like I had to like do like all the onboarding. I went back for between Gemini and ChatGPT, and then obviously with my own input, I kind of like just like found something I really liked. Likewise with the brand identity, that's how I came to it. I came up with it. Eventually, like I got, and then like once I got the brand ID, I was like, yes, perfect. And I put a lot of these like like elements into my application. If I had to do it again, I think I would have used something like Midjourney, just because Midjourney is really good at these type of like creating these type of like like icons and creating these type of like creating like a more coherent like like a coherent like feel for your application. And like once like I probably would have started with this first. I feel like I would have started with like like the identity first, because then like I could have like it would have made design much easier. Like I kind of created like this part after I had already like done the design for the main app. My phone might be dead, yo, but let's see. Uh, no, I was still cooking. Like after I had only created a logo and like the onboarding after I had done the app, so I was kind of doing it backwards. I was like figuring out like what my value prop was after I had created the app. When I feel like I should have started with that first. And I mean that's pretty much it. I mean like if I had to like give like 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 a step, like one, it's like one, figure out what your app is gonna be. Two, once you do that, design your app. Design your app via Figma, Midjourney, Gemini. Highly recommend Gemini for like what's it called? What for front end, and ChatGPT. Three is use AI code tools like Claude and codex to make to code features for you. Go back and forward and ask lots of questions. And I think one I didn't realize is test everything. Test everything. So I think one thing that like I think people maybe oversee is like your goal is kind of like project manager or product manager or like what's it called, or like composer in a sense. Like you are the glue, so you have to like manage everything. You have to have like documentation, everything. You have to know everything. You should have like a general sense of what your app does and what your app is, how your app works. If your app is not, because like like oftentimes like like these code tools are really good. It's like having like a mid-level software engineer at your pocket for only $20 a month, but they oftentimes don't know what to do beyond what the task you have given them. So like like one page of your thing might have like one page of your app might have like like a routine, but the other an app like the part of another page of your app which pulls like like from the routine might not be connected to a routine because like it because like say codex didn't know it had to like pull from the other page of routine, and so like you have to give it that additional context, and you have to be like, oh, make sure you connect it to like the routine page, actually create like a shared like memory like part of the app, so we can like actually so like like that feature, the other feature works. That's like something I had to do multiple times out of thing. That's your goal, as like that's your like role through like vibe coding, is to be like the architect. It's the visionary. You're the visionary. You give everything. You make sure that like codex cloud stays on track. Test everything. uh Repeat 2 and 3 until you have something you are happy with. And 6, if I had to do number 6, I think like said the just like how I coded the backend and how it like did connected to supabase and like openai, because like the backend for this app is not super complex. It's an edge function in supabase, which sends it like sends the pictures to like the sends a picture to the cloud. And honestly, I'll probably like get a server eventually, and like some authentication in supabase plus like openai. That's it. And like it can very easily spiral out of control if like you have like an app which requires like a somewhat serious like that backend. Just being completely honest. But I mean, I think the goal when it first off, Picasso didn't start out like with super crazy paintings. Same with enter any visionary. Like LeBron wasn't doing the stuff he did at the NBA when he was starting to play at basketball at a young age, when he was young playing basketball. So you can do somewhat simple projects and continue to like get better and better and better and better, because like you'll learn everything. You'll learn something new from each project. And like yeah, I mean that's pretty much how I do it, guys. Like this is like basically it. One, figure out what your app is going to be. Design your app via Figma, Midjourney, Gemini, ChatGPT. Use AI code tools, and then to code the features for you. Then go back for it. So like be like, hey, make this thing for me. Make this thing for me. And it's cool if you don't have like the vocabulary. If you don't have the vocabulary to do it, you can just put it in like ChatGPT and be like, hey, can you create a prompt for say codex to in a way that like make sure that make that in a way that sounds as accurate as possible, because I want to do XYZ thing. And that's how I did it a lot of times because I didn't have the like vocabulary. And then like once you have the prompt, ask codex, ask ChatGPT to explain those concepts to you. You have the world's greatest personalized teacher in history. Use it. It's critical. And then 3, just back and forth. 4, test everything. Goes without saying. Because if you don't test everything, then you don't really like you'll have a really shallow idea of what your app actually does, and your app will likely have a lot of issues in production. And 5 is just repeat 2 and 3 and 4 until you have something you're happy with. And that's a really high level view of what I did over the last like few months, over a month and a half, my bad. And for the next like like year or so, I'm going to just be like posting various experience, trying to grow like an application, maybe a software as a service too, on this channel, to at least maybe like $1,000-$2,000 of MRR. And but I hope you guys kind of enjoyed my like stream of consciousness, like unlike structured like ranting about like how I created Fantel. I'm really proud of it. I think this is the thing I'm the most proud of 2025. And for 25, my bad. And I hope you guys got something of value out of it. I'll probably just link the tools I actually used in the description. And I hope you guys have a great day /night. Happy vibe coding.